thanks, Jan, for accepting to be interviewed for us to our research group, to our site. So, our first question is. There is a lot of debate about the factors that contribute to talent development in sports. It is possible to predict sports success at adult level by working the talent of young athletes.
Well, it depends what you mean by young athletes, but if you look at the children under 13, I don't think it is possible. It's very hard because children mature at different rates. So some children will be bigger, or so it's very difficult to predict talent from success in childhood. So I don't think you could do that, and I think that's why it's very important to give opportunity to many kids to participate.
And is there any decisive aspect to consider in the characteristics of athletes when it comes to evaluate the abilities of talent of young players, young athletes?
Well, I think there's probably a lot of, there's the technical aspect, and but I think what is very important as a young child is the motivation and the commitment and the passion that they have for sport. If children are able to really be very passionate about their involvement in sport, they will get involved in practice and all the technical aspects. So I think the personal aspect is a very important thing for children.
What do you mean about personal aspect?
Kind of the motivational. So the ability to train, the ability to get involved in different activities in sport. So that's really coming from themselves. Would be
But I know by your research that the settings is very important also. So when we ask for characteristics, decisive aspects, what you think is...
Well, I think what the setting does is that it creates conditions where children feel comfortable, they feel happy to do sport,
to develop
develop their skill and to play and to... So to me, a very important aspect of childhood is playing, and playing sport for enjoyment,
for
and
fun.
not, yes, so for short-term enjoyment, not necessarily for long-term development of skill. So I think that's a very important thing for children, and the settings could help promote that.
And in these settings, what do you think is more decisive or more important? Probably not in the hierarchical phase, but...
Yeah, I think what's most important in the setting is that the children feel safe about, and they don't get judged by adults when they do sport. So if they make mistake, it's okay, and if they play and so they're not judged. And I think this kind of environment is ideal for children to develop their skill. So they try and they learn from trying, and they're not judged when they're making mistakes, and then they're just learning that way.
And you think this is the same way to make sport participation or sport performance? It's the same way. It can be the same way.
I would think that up until about, in most sport, up until about 12 or 13, it should be the same way. Just giving a lot of opportunity to a lot of kids and get them involved, and some of them will choose to pursue more practice time and increase their number of hours in practice. But I think an environment at a young age where there's a lot of play and there's a lot of trying out different positions, different sport, different roles within a team is very, very important for them to keep going.
Okay, and what about the best condition to promote talent development in young sport? How should we organize young sport in order to give athletes the best opportunities to develop their abilities and also develop them as happy and realized human beings? Trying to figure out both things.
Yeah, I think to me I would, if I was going to structure youth sport, I would structure it in a way that there is competition, but there is no traveling team, no selections of players before 13 or 14 years old. So everybody has an opportunity to play and to play on different teams. and then you don't necessarily have I don't know in Europe if a traveling team or all-star team, or so there's no selection to tell you you're not good and you're good, or you're so everybody has the same chance and have the same kind of opportunity, and then later on at about 13, 14, 15, then you can start selecting maybe the one that have more skills.
And I know also from your research about the age, birthday age.
Yes.
What you should propose about that, if you.
So the relative age, or
relative age.
Yeah. So the problem.
Okay, the next step. So what
Yeah.
is the opinion to organize?
Well, I think the issue with the relative age is that it's a social issue. It's not a physical thing. It's not a chronological thing. It's what happened is that the kids are bigger, but it's the coaches, the parents, and the kids themselves that react to that. So it's really is about coaching and about parents. So to solve the issue is really to make sure that the parents are and the coaches realize that they may pick people because they're bigger or they're more mature, but really at the end it doesn't make any difference. And when you look at there is a relative age effect early on, but you look at national team adults, very often it disappears. And so really it's not a big thing. It shouldn't be. Because if it disappears, it's because the kids have opportunities to develop.
But we know that these kids get more opportunities to practice and to be selected.
Yes.
And after that, of course, they get more opportunity to work more hours, more time engaged.
Yes.
So probably.
But all this is because of the coaches. It's because of the social. Again, it's the coaches or the parents that are creating that. So there is a relative age effect, but really, it's the parents and the coaches that creates that.
Okay. Yeah. In Portugal and perhaps in many other countries, young athletes start competing at young age, after 10 years old, giving a lot of importance to sports results in order to evaluate athletes' progression and development. But this seems to be a very narrow perspective because it does not consider other important aspects as, for example, technical development, character development, among others. What do you think about this?
So just repeat at the beginning of the question is?
Because the starting is in Portugal, young athletes start competing at early age, 10 years, around 10 years.
Yeah.
And the sport results are important very early in the athlete's development.
Yeah. So I think competition is not a problem. It's okay because sport is competitive. So when you play a game, kids that play a game on the beach or play a game on the street, they keep score. The competition is there. So competition, I don't think, is an issue. But the problem is long-term competition, or what the results of what adults do with competition. So if you lose and you're not chosen for a team, or the adults say you're not selected, or there's selection, or then that's an issue at 10 years old. But the short-term aspect within a game, the competition is fine. That's what sport is about. So keeping score and having a winner and a loser, but competition should be engineered so that there is equal chance for everybody to win and lose, and kids should be able to win and lose, because there's good lessons to be learned from winning and from losing. So no problems with competition, but it's what adults do with results of competition that is a problem.
So again,
the social aspect again, the selection of kids, you're good, you're not good, and so what adults do with that, it becomes the issue and the problem.
And when we put this in practice, you can do a step further to organize championships in collective sports, for instance. You have an idea of this? How should be?
There's nothing wrong with championship and making, I think kids like that. But it should not determine the future of children in sport. It should not be determined that if you win that championship, you're gonna make it to the next level, and the kids that lose, they're done, they're finished. Or so making the championship is fine. You know, competing is fine, but not making decisions on the result of the competition that will determine selection for a certain team. Or, you know, and I'm talking about childhood. You know, 10 years old, and I think that was the question.
After 10 years.
After that, you know, it's gonna have to happen. You know,
Yeah,
at 15 and 16 and 17, but it could be very detrimental at 10 because we don't really know who's going to be the best one. And, yeah.
And how do you think young sports programs should be organized in order to not give so much importance to competition than sport results? It's a little bit what I have already asked. But well.
Yeah. So I think, you know, the organization should be about giving equal opportunities to everyone, but creating competitive teams. So if you have a league, making sure that if there is one team that wins all the time, that at some point during the season, that maybe you trade players, or you try to make it equal. You try to, and I think we can do that. You know, we can do that, and making sure that there is equal opportunity. When you start a game, there is a good chance for both teams to win. I think it's detrimental to the kids when there's always one team that wins all the time and one team that loses all the time. So trying to, you know, I said engineer the league or the team so that everybody has the same opportunity
to win.
Yes, exactly.
To have success.
Yes, yeah. And it may mean that in the middle of a season, sometimes you trade players. You know, these players go here and these players go there because one team is not very good.
Of course.
Yeah.
And considering your experience, what are the major topics of research these days when it comes to study psychological aspects of young sports?
Well, I think
it's
it's a big question.
And probably a little bit changing the teams because now we go to research.
Yes, but you know, I think coaching is very important. We don't know very much about coaching children. I think we know quite well about coaching adults and coaching elite level athletes. It's almost like, you know, it's almost the easiest type of coaching. But what about coaching children? And then we don't put a lot of emphasis or a lot of value to coaching children. I think we need to know a lot more about what is an expert coach for children, and what do they do? What is it that makes children go to the next level and stay in sport or become an elite level athlete? And I think if we can put more value to that and understand that better, I think we would gain a lot from that type of research.
And you can look a little bit more inside of the kind of research that you can figure out that will be possible to make as an.
Well, I think, you know, identifying those coaches who are the expert coaches for children, and trying to understand them by looking at what they do in terms of observation, in terms of what do they do in practice, what do they do in games, and trying to understand the relationship that they create with their children and with their athletes would be very important. Sport is about relationship. Sport is about emotion and relationship, and children with coaches, children with adults, children between themselves. So understanding the dynamic of the relationship that happens in sport is really the key for me.
Yeah, I have a question. How you can measure the expert coach in child? I mean, okay, you're gonna measure that about the guys that went to national team.
Yes.
So
yes, and that's an excellent, and that's why there's no research because it's very hard to do. But it's something I think. To me, the society needs to put more value to that, and when we put more values, then we will have people that want to do that. They want to coach children. They don't want to move to the next level and coach elite level athletes. They just want to stay with that group. So if we find coaches that are staying with that group all the time, and that are very successful at pushing the children to the next level, then I think those are the coaches we should be looking for, that we should study more.
Okay.
Yes, yeah.
So, what advice could you give to sport psychologists that want to work with young athletes? What aspect they should give major importance?
Okay, well, let the children, don't intervene too much. Don't overcoach. Don't over-organize. Let them play and supervise and make some intervention, but not too many, not too much intervention. And I think that would be my advice. Let them play.
Let them play. And to coach that do work with young athletes, what aspect they should give major importance? So now different, more focusing on coach jobs.
What aspect they should give
major importance?
Okay. Well, they should give a lot of importance to the relationship. They should give some importance to how the children feel, not just about their skill, but about how do they feel about their participation in sports. So they should ask the children, are you happy? Are you enjoying this? And what can we do so that it's more enjoyable?
And you can, well, both in psychology and in coach action, you can figure out some age difference. I mean, to 8 years old, it's one thing, probably to 12 years old, other thing.
Yes.
They are kids,
yes.
but they are not
yes.
the same kids.
Yes. So I think, if you want to have a very rough kind of developmental, maybe you have coaches for children till about 12 or 13, then you would have coaches maybe for like developmental coaches in terms of before they become elite level athletes, then you would have your elite coaches, or not elite coaches, but coaches for elite athletes. Mm-hmm. Maybe 18, 19 to Olympic level.
So you put some...
I think so. I think they're very rough kind of transition, but we should have some kind of different. Your behavior should be different. It could be the same coach. You could be very effective with children and with elite level athletes, but you cannot act the same way. So when we talked about if you want to develop confidence in a child, it's going to be very different from developing confidence in an elite level athlete. So with a child, you just tell them that they're good and that they did very well and everything. But with the elite level athletes, you would have different strategy. But confidence is still very important for both. Yeah.
Okay.
So,
thank
good.
you.
Thank you.
It was very nice to have your interview.
Yes.
And